UFC President Dana White just announced 2 title fights for UFC 316, as well as a new main event for UFC Kansas City, which goes down in a couple weeks. Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree is off. The rumor is that Jamal Hill got injured. Dana White didn't really say anything about it in the clip that I watched. The new main event is Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Banger welterweight matchup. Can't wait for that fight. Then we have UFC 316. The main event is... Boys, the main event is Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley 2 for the bantamweight title. I know it's April Fool's Day. I wish this was an April Fool's joke. I feel like it is. It's not. It should be. What an absolute embarrassment. The sport is dead. We'll get to that in a little bit, okay? Co-main event is Julianna Pena versus Kayla Harrison for the women's bantamweight title. Decent women's fight. We'll get to that fight as well. We're going to break it all down this video. We're going to go through each fight. I'm going to give my opinion and thoughts on each fight and early prediction for each fight. But I want to start off with a clip from Dana White's announcement where he's talking about Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Let's take a listen, okay? Listen to this.
And what I love about this fight, other than it's a great fight, was Ian Garry's mentality going into this fight. He believes that Prates is the most dangerous guy in the division, and he loved the matchup. He wanted this fight, loves it, and should be a fun one.
He wanted this fight. Ian Machado Garry asked for this fight. Anybody, anywhere, anytime. That is why I'm president of the Ian Machado Garry fan club. Shavkat Rakhmonov on short notice? Sure, why not? Carlos Prates on short notice to save an event? Sure, why not? Fighting back in the rankings even when I shouldn't have to because I'm not going to duck behind my rankings and hide behind a number? That is Ian Machado Garry. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. Dana White said he asked for Carlos Prates. By the way, UFC rankings. Number 7, Ian Machado Garry. Number 13, Carlos Prates. Garry will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. He deserved a big fight. He took on Shavkat on short notice, damn near won, okay? And he deserved a big fight at that point in time because he had been kind of wanting to stay active. He had to fight MVP, super dangerous opponent, who's behind him in the rankings. Then he gets the opportunity to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov on a couple weeks' notice. He steps in there and he loses a very close decision. It should have been him versus Buckley rebooked. It should have been him versus the dead body of Kamaru Usman, who just sits around on a podcast. It should have been him versus Leon Edwards, who's on a 2-fight losing streak. It could have been him versus any of those guys. But guess what? They needed a new main event for UFC Kansas City, and Garry stepped up and said, give me Carlos Prates. Give me Carlos Prates. This is a banger fight. These are exactly the type of fights that I love. These are exactly the type of fighters that I love. You know, people are like, Joe, you're biased for Ian Machado Garry. How can you not like Ian Machado Garry outside of being an incel beta boy who is like, man, he loves his wife, and I'm going to make up narratives about why I don't like him. This dude will fight the most dangerous guys at any point in time. And he's taken on Carlos Prates, who is an absolute savage, coming off a KO win against Neil Magny. Made him look like a dead body out there. This is a great fight. I mean, stylistically, I absolutely love this matchup. I really do. It's a dangerous fight for Garry. As a massive fan of Garry and as a big believer in Garry, this is a very dangerous fight. Carlos Prates has nasty hands, man, and he has unbelievable KO power. You look at his resume recently. He's undefeated in the UFC, KO'd Neil Magny, KO'd Li Jingliang, KO'd finished Charles Radtke to the body, KO'd Trevin Giles, KO'd Mitch Ramirez on Dana White's Contender Series. This guy's on a crazy run, but this is no doubt the toughest test of Carlos Prates' career. Stepping in there against Ian Machado Garry, who I know a lot of people say, Joe, you're elevating him off a loss, because I'm telling you how good he is. Look how good he did against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm telling you guys that because I already knew how good Garry was. Everyone was telling me Shavkat's going to run through him. He out-grappled Shavkat at points in this fight. He outstruck Shavkat at points in this fight. He outworked Shavkat in the clinch at some points in this fight. It was a razor-close competitive decision win for Shavkat. Garry's still super young. What is he, 27 years old? 27 years old. He's getting better with every single fight. And he's taking on Carlos Prates, who is a super dangerous top 15 guy who hasn't fought a tough challenge yet. Now, you look at Garry's resume. I know it's not like the craziest resume ever, and people are going to call me biased, but it's an amazing resume. He fought Shavkat. That's great experience. He lost, but that's great experience. Before that, he fought MVP, who was one of the trickiest, most dynamic strikers in the UFC. Very hard to figure out. Went out there with a high fight IQ game plan and out-grappled him. Before that, beat Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal is super dangerous. Jeff Neal is super underrated. Jeff Neal was originally supposed to fight Carlos Prates at UFC 314. And now Carlos Prates, he gets a massive opportunity to jump up into the top 10 of the UFC welterweight rankings. And it seems like the welterweight division right now is at a moment in time where the young's just eating the old. You know how you have the lightweight division where it's like Justin Gaethje sending back Rafael Fiziev, and Beneil sent back Gamrot a while back, and Dustin Poirier last year sent back Benoit Saint-Denis. The welterweight division is eating the old. Sean Brady beating up Leon Edwards. Bilal beating up Leon Edwards. Kamaru Usman losing and is being on a losing streak now. I know he went up to middleweight and Kamaru is kind of retired. But either way, the welterweight division is finally evolving, and it seems like all the young prospects that we have known were very, very good for years are now finally getting opportunities and rising to the top. This is a banger fight. UFC Kansas City, April 26th. Man, I love this matchup, and the card's not bad either. I'll actually put the card on the screen as well. Card's not bad. Anthony Smith, we get to see Anthony Smith's funeral against Ming Yang Zhang. We got Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. We got Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. We got Ikram Alaskarov versus Andre Muniz. We got Randy Brown, Nicholas Dalby. This is a great card, guys. This is a really, really solid card. I'm not going to read every fight on the card, but this is a really, really solid card. This is what happens when the UFC actually leaves the apex. Now, in terms of an early prediction for this fight, I have to go Ian Machado Garry. I've said this a million times. I've said this ad nauseum at this point. Ian Machado Garry, prior to the UFC, was primarily a grappler. His striking has evolved. He has really good distance management. He has really good kicks. He's really good at maintaining range. And he has unbelievable cardio as well. And I think that his grappling base before he came into the UFC is what is going to win him this fight. Carlos Prates, very long, lanky, elite striker, sniper, nasty KO power. But guess what Garry has? Elite level fight IQ. He's going to come in and he's going to look to mix in the grappling. His striking is good enough to be very competitive with Prates on the feet. It's not like Prates is going to just go out there and absolutely outclass him. Neil Magny was touching up Prates on the chin at points. Neil Magny was getting close to takedowns. If Neil Magny wasn't old and washed up and training with his 3-year-old son, then maybe he would have been able to get some takedowns. Go back. I actually went back tonight and watched Carlos Prates, Neil Magny, just to make sure my memory was fresh on that fight, and it was only one round. Neil Magny was getting close in on takedowns. Now, ultimately, Prates was able to get his own takedown, kind of a reversal takedown. But if Garry gets in those positions, Garry gets those takedowns. Garry has elite level jiu-jitsu. Garry has submission ability. And also, we know how good Garry's cardio is. Prates is out there. I mean, you look at his recent fights, pretty much all of them are first or second round KO. The last time, let's see when's the last time. I don't know if he's ever, okay, the last time he's been to decision was 2021. Unless I'm misreading this. Yeah, the last time he's been to decision is 2021. We don't know how good his cardio is, and this is the biggest test of his career. And we really don't know how good his grappling is. The way I was watching Neil Magny get in on those takedowns, I think Garry easily gets takedowns. Garry had Shavkat's back locking up a rear naked choke. Garry's super flexible. He's super lengthy as well. He's good at managing range. I think Garry gets it done against Carlos Prates. It's a 5-round, short notice main event. We don't know how prepared Garry was. I'm assuming he was in shape. Otherwise, he wouldn't take this fight. But he's such a savage alpha male that he'd probably put himself at a disadvantage just to fight Carlos Prates because everyone is hyping him up. And it's time that people give Ian Machado Garry the respect that he deserves. I'll never forget last year. I said Colby Covington will never fight Ian Machado Garry. He will duck him and duck him and duck him like his life depends on it. Like he's shitting his britches like they're going out of style when Garry called him out. And people said, man, you just don't like Colby because you don't like his politics. You got political bias. What happened? Look at me now. Look at me now. Who told you? He ran from Garry because he knew Garry would whoop his ass. Because this is the type of fighter Garry is. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. He is not scared of anybody. Not Carlos Prates at number 13. Not MVP when he was behind him in the rankings. Not Jeff Neal. He's not scared of anyone. Not Shavkat on short notice. I want to end talking about this fight. It's time you guys give Ian Machado Garry the respect that he deserves. I get it. Some of you guys are incels, beta male soy boys who just hate on Ian Machado Garry because of made up narratives. But if you can't respect a guy who in back-to-back fights steps in to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov and Carlos Prates to literally save events, single-handedly save events, you're not a fan of the sport because you're worried about his personal life. You think Colby would have ever dared fight Prates? You think Colby would have ever dared fight Shavkat? He got forced to fight Buckley, which is absolutely hilarious because Buckley wrecked him. You know, at least he took that fight, I guess, but he was forced into it, which he admitted to. I covered that in another video. But as far as an early prediction for this banger UFC Kansas City main event, I don't want to hear anyone in the comments, Joey, why can't you be positive? I love this main event. If Carlos Prates wins, it's a massive win on his resume. If Ian Garry wins, it's time we give him a number one contender fight. It's time. He's earned that because the amount of opportunities that he's taken that have been disadvantaged to him, okay? If he goes out there and beats Prates, which I believe he will, I'm picking Ian Machado Garry. I'm going to pick him to sub Prates. I don't know. Prates has been sub 3 times in the first round. I know it's been a while. The last one was all the way back in... Where is it at? All the way back in 2014. Gary's got really good jiu-jitsu. I'm seeing Neil Magny get in close on those takedowns. I think Garry can win anyway, though. I think he can win via sub. I think he can win via TKO. I think he can win via decision. But I'm picking Ian Machado Garry to get it done. That's why I'm president of the Ian Machado Garry fan club. Not because I'm biased picking him, but because he will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. He doesn't care. He doesn't hide behind a ranking number. It's not like, I'm number 7. I'm not fighting number 13. I'm the biggest straw in the sport. I'm doing what's best for business. I suck Dana off, blah, blah, blah. That's Colby. He does not care. He just wants to prove that he's the best. He's saving UFC Kansas City. Jamal Hill is out. The only time Jamal Hill shows up to fight is when he's fighting his brother at the Thanksgiving table and knocking his teeth down his throat. Garry doesn't care. He'll fight Sean Brady on short notice next if you ask him. If he beats Carlos Prates, give him a big opportunity. It's time that people give Garry the respect that he deserves. I'm sick and tired of it. Okay, now we're going to talk about UFC 316. I've been positive about UFC Kansas City. Let's take a look at UFC 316. Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley 2. Ew is essentially what I have to say. Dog shit fight. The sport's dead. We're not getting real title fights anymore. This is fake. This can't be real. This is a garbage fight. What are we doing? Let's look at Sean O'Malley's last win. Oh, wait. He got dominated by Merab in his last fight. Showed absolutely nothing. Got kissed on his neck. Tried to cheat multiple times. Looked like a total scrub. But somehow, he lands one teep kick in the 5th round and people are giving him a participation trophy. He lost 50-45. I don't care what anyone says. Bare minimum 49-46. I'm pretty sure I scored at 50-45. We're giving him an immediate rematch? What? What is this? The UFC should have booked O'Malley versus Jan too. I don't know exactly what they could have done with Merab at this point in time. You know, I know it sounds crazy. You could have gave Piotr Jan's more deserving of a shot. Umar's more deserving of a rematch. Hell, throw Corey Sandhagen in there, or Figgy, or Song Yudong, or not Marlon. It's crazy the amount of privilege that Sean O'Malley gets, man. It really is. This is a joke. This is a sham. I hate this title fight. It's an embarrassment. O'Malley has had nothing but privilege his entire career. He's an industry plant, teacher's pet. Okay? He got the Petr Yan fight, right? Which was undeserved, but I love those types of fights. You take guys who are hyped up at the back end of the weight class, and you're like, let's see how good they really are. Let's throw them in there with the top contender. I had no complaints about O'Malley Yan. Some people say that I did. Okay? It was undeserved, but it was a banger matchup that didn't really matter because it's not an undeserved title shot. At the end of the day, these numbers really mean nothing. The rankings mean nothing. They're meaningless. He goes out there, loses to Yan 30-27, gets a robbery win. Gets a robbery split decision win. I could not believe it. Then the UFC sets up Aljamain Sterling for failure. They book him against Henry Cejudo. Then they want him to turn around rather quickly against Sean O'Malley to set Sean O'Malley up for success. Sean O'Malley goes out there and KOs Aljamain Sterling, gets an early stoppage, really a TKO. Gets the title, then gets gifted the easiest possible defense against Marlon Vera, who didn't deserve a title shot at the time. Then he finally fights Merab, who was the rightful number one contender forever. Gets mauled and dominated at UFC Noche and made to look like a little bitch. And then says he won, says he got robbed afterwards. Pretends like he actually won the fight. Doesn't fight. Sits out while Merab fights Umar. And now gets a rematch for the title. What a joke this sport is. Dana White is checked out. Dana White does not care anymore. In his mind, he identifies potential stars, and then he just pushes them no matter what. And that's exactly what he's doing with Sean O'Malley. And to be honest, I think this is the worst possible thing for the sport as a whole, for the fans as a whole, but also for Sean O'Malley. Well, Merab dominates him again, then what? Because Merab's dominating him. Early prediction, spoiler alert, Merab dominates Sean O'Malley in a rematch. How is Sean O'Malley going to improve his wrestling? That's literal dog shit in 9 months, and apparently he suffered an injury, came out with a bunch of excuses afterwards. Meanwhile, Merab, on a crazy winning streak, beats Umar Nurmagomedov, one of the most dangerous guys in the division, razor close, even though people act like it was a domination because of the showboating, which is a totally fake narrative, but beats Umar nonetheless, and is on a crazy win streak, dominating everyone essentially. Outside of that, dominates Henry Cejudo. Well, I guess not. He got clipped with Henry Cejudo. But either way, you get my point. Relatively dominant against elite level fighters. Meanwhile, O'Malley has one real win. O'Malley has one real win. One, and that's Aljo. And that was kind of fluky and set up for optimal circumstances. This is a joke. And when he gets dominated by Merab, where does he go from here? He's going to go up to 45? Diego Lopez would whoop him. If Topuria was still there, he would absolutely murder him. O'Malley is an industry plant with the elite level striking. That's it. End of story. He gets the ultimate. Is this guy Dagestani? Is O'Malley Dagestani? Because he's getting an awful lot of privilege. I don't know how anyone could like this fight. There's people in the comments saying, man, I really want to see Merab O'Malley. I'd like to see what changes O'Malley could do. He didn't win any fights. What did he do to earn a title fight? Well, I would rather see, I'm trying to think who right now. I would rather see Mario Batista get a title fight. I'd rather see Umar get a rematch. I mean, any of these. I'd rather throw Jose Aldo in there for a rematch, even though he wouldn't win. It just makes no sense. Yan could have been the guy. And I understand Yan lost. Yan was more competitive than O'Malley. It was just Merab failing takedowns, not getting controlled and dominated the entire time. And Yan was landing on the feet at decent points in time. What a garbage shit fight. Shit sandwich that Dana White is just feeding us over and over and over again. And I will say this. So early prediction, I already gave you guys that. Merab dominates him. I'm going 50-45. Merab wrestles him. He's kissing his buddy's back. Just breathe. I mean, I don't want to make this video too long because I got to do today's the 4-year anniversary of starting my channel. I'm going to do a long stream. So look out for me to be live after this. O'Malley got dominated so hard that Tim Welsh is like, just breathe, Shug. It's almost over, Shug. It's almost over. Just breathe. You're a champion, Shug. He was telling him it's almost over. It's almost over, Shug. That's how badly Merab made him his bitch. He sits on the sideline. He cries robbery. He makes excuses. And then he gets an immediate rematch. What a fucking joke this sport is. Shame on the UFC for putting this together. Anything else, Pantoja Merab would have been better. And this is the main event of 316, garbage main event. And the last thing I'll say, and I don't want to shit on Merab too much. This is an embarrassment to Merab. I want to see how Merab acts. Is Merab going to be out there in public saying how, Sean O'Malley, you have to be man first. Have to be man first. Oh, I don't want to fight O'Malley man first. Is he going to say that? Because he was ducking Umar. Regardless if you took the fight and won anyway, he was trying to avoid that fight. Because Umar didn't deserve it. Well, if Umar didn't deserve it, then what do you have to say about O'Malley and getting an immediate rematch? Because, I mean, you could split Umar's resume, you know, in thirds, and he still deserved it at that point in time more than O'Malley deserves it right now. So I want to hear Merab's reaction to this. My sense is he's going to love this fight because it's an easy matchup and an easy domination victory for the first title defense. And I just don't get what the UFC thinks because they're going to ruin Sean O'Malley with this one. He has no hope. The time was now to book O'Malley versus Jan too. Could have even called it a number one contender fight. Give Pantoja an opportunity to fight Merab. That would have been a banger. Imagine UFC 316, Merab Dvalishvili versus Alessandro Pantoja for the bantamweight title. Co-main event, Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. No brainer. You see how easy that was, Dana and Hunter? I didn't even have to take him out to dinners. I took Francis out to more dinners. What a joke. Co-main event of UFC 316 before we end the video. We have Julianna Pena versus Kayla Harrison. Well, what's there even to say? I'm not sure for how long Kayla Harrison can continue to make bantamweight. She's 34 years old. She was fighting at 155 at points in time in PFL. She made weight against Ketlen Vieira. She made weight against Holly Holm. So I'm assuming she'll make weight, but I don't know how long she can do this for, especially in her mid-30s. Julianna Pena's a scrub. It's an abomination that she's actually the champion. She has garbage striking. And I fully expect Kayla Harrison to ragdoll Julianna Pena and beat her up. I don't think it's 100% a foregone conclusion because Kayla Harrison didn't look particularly great against Ketlen Vieira. Cardio didn't look particularly great. You don't never know how her chin is, especially cutting weight. Julianna Pena is good enough to stick around and fluke a win against Amanda Nunes. Could she do that against Kayla Harrison? It's possible. But this fight doesn't get me excited at all. It belongs as like a co-main or featured fight, or even maybe like a fight night card main event. I'm glad it's not a main, but I mean, this UFC 316's dog shit, guys. We're just not getting any real title fights ever anymore. I don't even know what to say about it. I'm going Kayla Harrison to get it done. There's nothing really too much to break down. A lot of people didn't even think Julianna Pena beat Raquel Pennington. I mean, she didn't deserve that title fight either. Before that, she got dominated by Amanda Nunes. I think the plan is, and what we have to look forward to with this fight, is if Kayla Harrison wins, they might bring Nunes back, and we get a banger women's bantamweight title fight between Nunes and Harrison, with Harrison as the champion. I think that's what we can look forward to when it comes to this fight. But I'm going Kayla Harrison. I think she gets it done. I think Julianna Pena is pretty much a scrub. The UFC needs to work on talent acquisition for the women's divisions, you know, especially 35. Especially 35. 25 is starting to really fill in a decent amount. 15's okay. 35 is straight up garbage. I mean, look at 35. Let me go look at it real quick. Julianna Pena's champion, Raquel Pennington, Kayla Harrison, Ketlen Vieira, Norma Dumont, Macy Chaston, Irina Aldana, Mayra Bueno Silva. Aylin Perez is number 8. I'm done with this. You guys got to see this for yourself. Aylin Perez sitting at number 8. Misha Tate, number 11. Yana Santos, number 10. Oh my, what is this sport? What is this sport? Anyway, guys, that pretty much does it for the video. Can't wait for Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Absolute savagery to take that fight on short notice by Garry. And I hate UFC 316. I think that pretty much sums it all up. I'll be streaming here shortly after this video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.